Monday Morning Magic. If you've been following, you know that every Monday I've been reading a chapter of my new book, Love Your Family Again. It's coming out November 15th, and I can't wait for you to get it. It is filled with solutions and scenarios and stories and tools for you to solve your biggest behavior challenges. And since I just couldn't wait for it to get into your hands, I am reading a chapter every week for you so that you can get those tools sooner, apply them faster, and make changes in your home today. If you are an educator or a professional that works with kids, I want you to make those changes in your classroom, in your office today as well. So, couldn't wait, right? And if you've been following for a while, you know that my first book, Love Your Classroom Again, came out a year ago. So if you're a teacher, that's the book for you. If you're a parent, Love Your Family Again is for you. But either way, these tools and solutions apply. So without further ado, should we just dive right in? This week, which is week 5 of reading Love Your Family Again, we're working on scenario 11. And as you know, I am calling all of my chapter scenarios, right? Because it's not just, sorry guys, need to get comfortable if I'm going to sit down and read with you. I'm not just writing chapters for you to read about what's going on. I actually am giving you scenarios. Here's the situation. Here's what's a story that's happened from my experiences in the world. And then here's how you fix this type of situation, right? So I wanted that to be clear. And they're all short and sweet, 3 to 5 pages. So you have 2 choices when you get my book. You can either go through the table of contents and pick the scenarios that you need the most help with, read those, apply them, come back to the book when you have more challenges, like a reference point, or you read it straight through and that'll give you a better base of understanding about how behavior overall works. So whatever you have time for and whatever you need, that's how you use my book. So I wrote it that way because I know as a busy parent, as a busy educator, you can't always sit down and read a whole book. It's a time commitment that you might just not have even if you wanted it. So this is how I can get you the help in those bite-sized pieces that I know work for you best. So, he never stops whining. That's the name of the scenario, right? Because I know that whining and complaining and negotiating, all those behaviors are the same, right? They all work the same way behaviorally. So, let's see what to do about that. The scenario starts with Dr. Marcie's journey. Here's what happened in my life around this. I love this story. I hope you love it too. My mother never put up with whining or being interrupted by me or my sister. If she was on a phone call and I asked her a question, she would look up and say, "Is someone bleeding or dead?" She would say it just like that, deadpan, like, "Are you bleeding or dead?" It's amazing how calm she did it. I can't remember a time when the answer was yes to that question. So I always shook my head and said, "No, but didn't matter what came after the but because she was so fast, right? She would then cut me off and say, "Then you can't interrupt me. I will talk to you when I'm off the phone." And then would go back to her phone call. Like seriously, no matter what came after that, as long as I was physically safe, she was like, "Okay, I'm busy." Like she's like, no, I'm busy. And she would go back to her call. And I could keep standing there trying to talk to her and she just wouldn't answer. She'd be on the phone and she would say to whoever was, "Sorry, my child interrupted me. I'm back with you now." And da-da-da-da-da-da. And she would keep talking. And these was the days, like we used to have the phone that would plug into the wall. So it's not like she could take the portable phone and walk into another room, let alone her cell phone, right? She was stuck in the chair she was in because the phone cord only went so far. Do you remember those days when the phone was attached to the wall and you couldn't go somewhere else? So it wasn't that she could leave the room. I had to, or she had to ignore me, which she did really well. All right. It was effective. I rarely interrupted her after the phone. I also learned the power of problem solving without my mother's help, which was proven to be a helpful skill in life, right? Because most of the time I would just go, "Okay," and I'd turn around and I'd go figure out whatever it was that I thought I needed help with, especially if it meant me and my sister weren't getting along. Usually when your small being is whining, he is not in a calm mental state. Staying strong in your actions is critical, right? You know that one of my key rules, right? There are only 3 of them, is do more actions count. This was powerful in this kind of situation when I was whining, because my mom's actions spoke way more than her words. My mom would say, I don't listening to whining, and she would walk away every single time without hesitation. My sister and I did not use this behavior very often because it didn't work, ever. It still doesn't. If I call now as an adult and I'm talking to my mom and start whining about something because we've all had a bad day, my mom will go, I'm not talking to you anymore, Marcie, and she'll hang up the phone on me. Because my mom, she calls me Marcie, not Dr. Marcie. But yeah, she won't actually hang up the phone on me, but she will tell me that she doesn't want to listen to me whine. Very rarely does it happen, but we've all had those days. Please know that my mother was always very loving towards her children. At other times, she would take lots of time to talk with us and help us and support our growth. I would come to her with a problem and we would solve it together. When it came to whining or interrupting her, however, she did not budge. She was consistent in implementing her true rules, and so we knew to abide by them. There are many solid behavior techniques similar to those my mother used. Read on to find out how you can apply them in your family. So that paragraph is really important. Here's what I want to make sure you get. I'm not saying to don't problem solve with your kids. I'm not saying to not help your small beings when they need help. I'm saying don't help them and don't problem solve with them when they're whining, because that doesn't help. You want them to come and say, hey, I need your help. Please help me. Here's the situation. You don't want them to come and whine at you because they need help because something's wrong. If that's what you respond to, then that's how they'll learn to ask for help. If you say, I don't listen to whining, I'm going to wait till you talk to me nicely, and then ignore them until they ask nicely, they'll learn very quickly to start asking nicely, right? So when they talk to you beautifully, help them. For sure, that's what you're there for, but not when they're whining. Okay, let's move on. What this means for your family. The simple truth about whining is this. If your child whines as a regular form of communication, he does so because it works. I know, that sentence is a bit harsh and direct, but it's honest. And that is part of the charm that I bring to the world of behavior, right? Is I just tell you the truth how it is, right? Whining usually results in a favorable experience that he likes and wants to continue. If it did not, he would stop whining. So if you change your response to whining, the whining will change. It is that simple. Behaviors occur only for a few reasons or functions. There are only 4 of them, so get ready. I'm going to tell you what they are right now. Desire for attention, desire for escape, because it feels good, or due to a medical condition. And what I recently found out is if you put those together, it spells out fame, F-A-M-E. Fame, F, feels good, A, attention, M, medical, E, escape. Only 4 functions of behavior. When your child is interrupting or whining, chances are he's doing so for attention. When you give him what he wants after whining, he will continue the undesirable behavior, right? If when he's whining, you tell him how inappropriate it is, or how much you don't like it, or how he needs to stop, or how rude that is, any of those things are going to encourage him to continue whining because he just wanted you to talk to him. You'll notice the behaviors that persist or increase are the ones that get enjoyable results. Now, enjoyable does not mean you think they're fun and good. It means there's something that your kiddo enjoys. So if there's a behavior that keeps going, even if you're like, they can't possibly like the response I'm giving them. They can't like being yelled at. They can't like being punished. If the behavior increases or continues, they do. So you need to change that response, okay? Behaviors that disappear do so as a result of the outcome are not desired or enjoyable. Of course, enjoyment is subjective. You might wonder what is enjoyable for your small being about, for example, your raised voice and obvious agitation. If he is receiving attention, he may be accomplishing his goal, no matter what it looks like or feels like to you. If it is not for you to judge whether his perspective is normal or correct, simply take it as it is. He enjoys the response you give him. You are giving him what he wants. It's likely he uses whining in other parts of his life, as it is often a cry for attention or control. Your small being knows that when he uses his regular voice, he does not get what he wants quickly or at all. If all behaviors like this one was built over time and is reinforced by the environment. Let me read that again because I think I missed a word. Like all behaviors, this one was built over time and it is reinforced by the environment, right? That's how behaviors work. The ones that we keep are the ones that are reinforced. The ones that go away are the ones that aren't, right? So your kiddo enjoys something about the whining. It might be the intensity of your response, right? You may have heard me talk about adult tantrums. When your kid whines or negotiates or navigates with you in that way, even though you don't like it, your agitation, your response back might be really intense and they like that. Is there a way to give them that intensity in a different way for positive behavior, for using their regular voice, right? The other thing that that paragraph points out is sometimes they ask in their regular voice. Your kiddo will say, ask for a snack very calmly of saying, hey mom, can I have a snack? And you don't answer. And it's not until they start whining and complaining that you give a response. So pay attention for those moments where you're just tuning out because you're so busy, because you're multitasking, because you're doing so much at once. Are you ignoring the good language and only responding to the whining? Might be why it works. Maybe. Let's keep going. Here's where you come in. The behavior in your home and your family is in your control. While it is tempting to blame teachers or friends for your child's whining habit, you are a significant participant in your child's behavior. You must remember that your small beings are smart. They understand many common rules of engagement, meaning which tactic works for specific people. Now, I've had lots of conversations with adults about this and them saying, well, do they really understand contingencies? Do they really understand the response from their mother versus their father or their teacher versus their parent? And the truth is, yes. No matter what's going on with your small being, no matter what you think your kiddo is understanding, behavioral contingencies are so easy for them to follow, and it's already in place and working for them. It's why the whining's happening. We all engage in certain actions hoping for a specific outcome based on experience. It is what controls all of our behavior. Our small ones are no exception, and neither are you. Think about the world's largest coffee chain, Starbucks. It is incredibly popular because the results of customers' interaction is very similar across all locations. You can go into any Starbucks anywhere in the world and get the same vanilla latte. People choose what they know will work, whether it is attention from their parents or a caffeine fix from Starbucks. Right? As in, you sometimes will go to Starbucks versus a local coffee place because you're in a new town and you're traveling and you don't know that the local coffee place coffee is good. So you go to Starbucks because you know it. You know it's going to be consistent. Your kids go to whining because they know it's going to get the result they look for. It's consistent. Patterns of interaction create behavior. You are essentially rewriting the framework for your small being, so it will take persistent effort to change it. Over time, you can show your whining child that this usual path is no longer available with you, and he must find another way. How lovely would that be? So here are your small steps. My mother did not give the attention I craved when I would whine or interrupt, so I learned that I could get attention for good behavior, kind, polite, appropriate communication, and could not get attention for behavior that was irritating, annoying, or frustrating. She remained steadfast during every moment of the negative behavior. This is a model you must provide to your children. 1, stop providing attention for whining. 2, start providing attention for positive communication. That's the end of the list. Just those 2 things. It sounds simple because it is. That's really important, so I'm going to read it again because I want to make sure you get that. It sounds simple because it is. Use your actions over your words on a consistent basis and you will shift the negative behavior. There is one addition to these steps regarding how the behavior will evolve. Behavior is not a vacuum. It is very important to provide a replacement behavior for the one you have eradicated. Again, I'm going to repeat this because that's super important. It's very important. I even say it. It's very important to provide a replacement behavior for the one you have eradicated. If you do not teach a replacement behavior, your child will find a substitute that is worse than whining. Make sure all small beings in your family are clear about what to do in order to get your attention. These include tapping you on the shoulder, asking a sibling for help, or simply waiting. When small beings choose more destructive methods, continue to ignore them if possible. Here's the plan. 1, let your child know that there is a new focus on voice and volume. You will be teaching them to speak in their beautiful full voice. Whispers, yelling, whining, negotiations, all of those. You can throw in this negative vocal behavior or focus on one manner of speaking at a time. Will not be answered from this point forward. Then 2, plan on reminding your family of this rule 3 times a day. It must be enough times that your children remember, but not so many that it creates frustration. It is important to keep reminders going past the end of the behavior you changed. If whining is an ongoing problem with multiple family members, perhaps yourself included, you may want to remind them each before sections of your day, right? So when you wake up in the morning, when you get home from school, maybe right after dinner. So there's this constant conversation going on of what we can do next. What's happening? What are we focusing on? Because you want to give the reminders before there's problem behavior. Because if you wait till they're whining to remind them, you're too late. 3rd step of the plan. The first time your child whines or said, please try that sentence again. If you have a very young child, you may simply want to say, try again. Less language, the better in those situations. If your child does so in a better way, fantastic! Celebrate it. If not, it is your turn to put your words into action and ignore the whining. Step 5. If other people, especially considering you often parent in public, see this interaction and question your behavior, say out loud the new rule. Sorry, it's not suggest, it says say. Reading sometimes trips me up. Remember, we are working on talking in our regular voices. As soon as my child asks in a regular voice, I will be happy to answer. This helps those around you learn and feel good about the intervention. And then step 6. I can't hold up 6 fingers because I'll drop the book. Keep reminders going for 2 weeks after the whining behavior is gone. Then reduce the reminders to just once a day. If the piece continues, reduce the reminders to the time when you're going over family rules. AKA, that means you should be going over family rules with your family regularly so they keep in mind all the good things that you want to be working on and maintaining as positive behaviors in your family. Just hoping they remember all the things, it's pretty unlikely that it will work. So now your smallest step, right? So at the end of each scenario in my book, each chapter of my book, I have the smallest step, which is the one thing you can do to address this behavior. Because in the chapter, there are a lot of things, right? I just gave you a 6-step program. There were lots of other ideas. So the one thing, if you want to reduce whining or negotiating or complaining in your family, here's the one thing to start with. Celebrate when your kiddo uses usual whining, uses, Let's try that again. Celebrate when your kiddo, who usually whines, speaks in his regular voice. If you treat it as an expected behavior rather than an improvement, you are shortchanging your child and yourself, right? So sometimes when our kiddos do something that we just think they should be doing, but is actually novel for them, right? If your kid whines or negotiates all the time and they don't, you want to celebrate that. You want to reinforce that. You want to have a happy dance around that because it's huge, because they don't normally do that. And after you do that for a while, then you can stop celebrating as much because then it does just become status quo, but it's not right now. So you need to make sure to celebrate that. All right. That was the whole scenario in my book. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find it helpful. Certainly, if you did, please share this video with your friends who you think might also find it helpful, because that's how they get to learn too and be just as amazing of a parent as you are, right? My new book, Love Your Family Again, comes out November 15th. It is up on Amazon right now, where you can pre-order the Kindle version. To order the paperback, you're going to have to wait till November 15th. But I promise to remind you the day it comes out so you can get the hard copy in your hand as soon as possible. And come back next Monday for the next chapter in Love Your Family Again, and have an amazing, amazing week. Remember, there are blue skies ahead, and we are absolutely going to get there together.